Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Katanox and Trusted Stays industry webinar myth busting series. Today we're talking about TMC travel management companies' assumptions about short-term rentals. My name is Dave Butler. I'm your moderator for today and joined by two real industry experts. Matt Johannesen, General Manager of Veeve, property management company, and Mark Byford, who's the Director of My Getaways. Matt and Mark, perhaps you could kick us off by introducing yourselves. Over to you, Matt.
Yeah, hi Dave, thank you. So my name is Matt. As I said, I'm the General Manager at Veeve. Veeve, a property management company and part of the under the Doormat Group. So we actually we've got to use Trusted Stays through our key integration with Hosperia, who have built out their API. So that's how we've come to use Trusted Stays. And for Veeve, we use Trusted Stays for both our B2B and our B2C properties across the UK.
Hey, thanks, Matt. That's great. And Mark, a little bit about yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Mark from My Getaways. I'm the Director of Business Development, and I've been working for My Getaways for just coming on 6 years. We are based in Sussex, and we are a property management company. We have a direct API connection into Trusted Stays, which our web developer built, I think probably about a year ago now. We manage around 100 properties for our owners. Predominantly, we advertise on all the big platforms, as you can see in the background. And it's quite easy for us to integrate with any other system as well.
That's great. Thank you. So we've introduced a couple of the themes we're going to be talking about today. So how can property managers integrate into alternative sources of accommodation, in particular into the short-term rentals industry? And what we've done today is gather questions from property managers, and under the Katanox have gathered them for us, and we're going to put them to Matt and Mark to discuss. So the first question we're going to ask is, why on earth should travel agents consider booking short-term rentals rather than hotels? And Mark, over to you first of all. Why should we consider it, or why should you consider it?
I think times are changing. Not everybody wants to stay in a hotel now, and we're seeing more and more corporate and business people wanting to actually stay in one of our many properties. You know, we have anything from studio flats up to 5 and 6 bedroom houses, and people actually, when they go away, don't want to be restricted by they have to have breakfast at the hotel between this time and that time, or they've got to get back in time for dinner. You know, it's very easy to book a self-catering accommodation property in this day and age, and our business is growing massively because people they're finding hotels are not meeting their needs anymore.
Okay, that's great. Matt, and summary from your perspective.
Yeah, I guess I completely agree. I think the property and hotel world is changing rapidly, and I think actually the availability of short-term rentals or flexible accommodation is becoming huge. And I mean, to touch on Mark's point, actually going away with a family, you could be a big family, you want to spend time together. It's about having that experience home away from home. You've got a central hub, which could be a kitchen or a dining room, and you can really make that experience one that it is more enjoyable than just effectively being locked in a bit of a hotel room as it would be. And I think there's probably a few misconceptions probably still in the short-term rental industry about kind of the operational challenges, less flexibility. And actually over the last, particularly driven by COVID, actually those things have changed, and actually they've become much more competitive with cancellation policies, the operational challenges in terms of almost delivering a hotel experience within a home. These have all come to light, and simple things like 24-hour kind of on-call services and things like that, which are being offered. Obviously, we've got at Veeve, we offer extra concierge services and things like that as well. So it all adds to the experience, as well as I think short-term rentals. We've got obviously the geographical locations that we can consider. We've got some amazing homes. I know, Mark, down on the coast, you've got some down there. Obviously, Veeve, we've got some really fantastic homes in London and Paris that are just unique, and you can't get that from a hotel.
And Mark, one of the other myths that sometimes people have is that it's more expensive to stay in a short-term rental than a hotel. How does it compare from your perspective, price-wise?
No, if you were coming away on business and there was one of you, it's going to be very competitive against the premium hotels. I mean, as Matt was saying, if you're coming away with a family, and let's say you got mum, dad, or two adults and two children, in most hotels you're going to have to pay for 2 rooms. The kids are going to want to be in an adjoining room or a separate room, or they're going to have to be in a different room, and you're going to have to pay for 2 hotel rooms. Whereas you stay with service accommodation, you're just paying for the one property, so the family can all be together for a much more competitive rate.
Okay, that's great. And what about location? I mean, what's the spread? I mean, the good thing about hotels is they're everywhere. Is it true that there's a short-term accommodation available anywhere you need it? Matt, I mean, you can talk.
Absolutely. I mean, if we just look around at any big, short-term rental platform out there at the moment, whether it be TrustedStays or others, the locations that you can build these, you can find these properties now. You can find them on the top of a mountain, in a forest, on a riverboat. I don't know how many hotels there are on a boat, but there's certainly. I know certainly in London, in Paris, around, particularly in the UK, around our kind of countryside locations, there's some fantastic options, which actually wouldn't make sense to build a hotel there. They can't be competitive there because your capital investment that you need to put down is not going to be on a canal boat. And actually, you get some of that experience with short-term rentals.
Yeah, that's great. And then the final myth that I think I've got written down in front of me is what's the guest profile like? Are short-term accommodation welcoming to everybody? Mark, in your experience?
We welcome everybody into us. We can have families going away. We actually get quite a lot of overseas people come over, because they want to stay in Sussex, and especially on the coast. I mean, some of our properties can have a swimming pool. They can have gardens. You just don't. Yes, you get a swimming pool in a hotel, but a lot of hotels don't have outside space. There's definitely places for everybody across all of these platforms, and looking on the TrustedStays website, they've definitely got something for everybody.
That's great. And I suppose when we look at non-standard type requirements, relocation, the short-term accommodation must come into its own there, Matt.
Yeah, so obviously with the Veeve profile of properties being predominantly bigger family homes in London and Paris, it's quite a big part of our market in terms of homes that's people relocating from abroad. Or actually, one of the other markets is people who are doing renovations. If you're building out your basement in a London home, you need to move out, and that could be for 2 or 3 months. And I don't think anyone really wants to go and stay in a hotel for 2 or 3 months, nor do they want to lock into a 12-month AST contract with one of the big property people. So we offer that really good value alternative that sits somewhere there in the middle to provide for their need.
Okay, I think that's really helpful and it's really positive. The one thing I look for, I guess, if I'm looking at corporate travel, is the sort of the guarantee, the security, and the assurance of quality. How can I be guaranteed doing that if I'm booking accommodation in, houses that could be of any sort? Where can I get that assurance from? Mark, in your case?
Yeah, I mean, when we joined up, partnered with TrustedStays, we went through the quality and tourism accreditation, and we actually got the gold achievement. So, all of our properties, all of our procedures, everything has been checked, and we've been signed off. And guests can have 100% guarantee that they're going to get a great stay when they stay in one of our properties.
That's great. And Matt, is that true for you guys as well?
It's the same for us. I think I go back to kind of what I said earlier. The industry as itself has been professionalizing probably over the last 10 years in terms of short-term rentals. And what's come out of that, obviously, you've got the QIT, Quality and Tourism, you've got Visit England accreditations and other accrediting bodies that are really driving the consistency. And I kind of mentioned about the hotel quality. That's the kind of the aim. It's that home and that experience, but you still get some of those bits that you do want from a hotel because they are there. You get that lovely soft white linen, or you may have other colors linen, but it's lovely, fresh, it's pressed, all of those things. You've got someone to meet you and greet you and kind of really show you around the home as well, and in Veeve's case that's what we do. But also you've always got someone at the end of the phone 24/7, so all of those guarantees you get with a hotel are there. plus also it's someone's home a lot of the time, or it's a holiday home that's been set up to be done in this way. So security is a key part of the thinking when actually going into that.
Okay, that's great. Security, quality, we took none of those things. I guess one other thing I'm looking for when I'm looking from a corporate perspective is probably around the environmental side of stuff. Can I be assured that my travel with short-term accommodation is as environmentally friendly as it would be with a big hotel chain? Matt, your perspective on that?
I guess the starting point is, no one has to build a 10-story hotel just to start with. There's no digging up. Like these tend to be, properties that are already there and they're being repurposed, and they're existing buildings that are being used, whether that's, on a holiday home for 12 months or actually even short term, 2-3 months, a few weeks for the summer if you're traveling over. So, I mean, fundamentally there's that, but also I think if we look at even just some of the simple things like cutlery and cups, knives and forks, like all of those things are provided in a home. They're not, it's not takeaway. It's you've got a physical mug, a physical plates and things. So from a plastic perspective, that's probably less.
Mark, is that a consideration for you when looking at prospective properties, their environmental credentials?
Yeah, actually, three of our properties have actually been awarded green credentials. They're actually called Green Muse. They've actually won an award for Sussex for being so environmentally friendly. And the way we manage those as well, everything in there. I mean, we try and reduce as much plastic as we obviously can and cut down on the waste. And we try and do everything to protect the environment as we can. But there, we go the extra mile with everything is eco-friendly, from the washing up liquid to the scourers that we use. Everything is really, really sustainable. We're sustainable across our group, but those three are super sustainable. They've got heat pumps, they've got electric charging, everything you could ever want from a green, environmentally friendly property. We have those three, and it's great to have those on board. And we're looking for more, but Brighton is an old Victorian city, and trying to get some properties up to the standard of that is quite challenging. But we're working towards it.
Okay, that's great. And Mark and Matt, I mean, you talked about the inherent benefits of somebody living in somebody's home or staying in someone's home. What about your group, Veeve, as a group? Are you focused on environmental issues?
I think you've got to be right. We've all got to look at how we can be environmentally friendly. That is part of the modern day, but also just from a good human being living on this planet. So I think as a group, Veeve are definitely, whenever we pick new suppliers or we work with our suppliers, there are some things that you can't get away from if they come in a can or a plastic bottle. But it's how we reduce those things down and how we look at where are we sourcing them for. Do they need to travel from the other side of the world, or actually can we think about getting them from something closer, a more local provider? And actually, I think that's probably one of the kind of the environmental / socially good things, which is for the smaller kind of short-term rental businesses versus the hotel, we're looking for local suppliers to work with. I'm sure Mark looks to work with suppliers down in Sussex on the coast, and actually you support your community as well then, which is a kind of another additional support.
Okay, so these are all the positive stuff.
Sorry, I just want to add to that. Actually, we do try and use local suppliers, and actually our linen, bear in mind we went through 130,000 towels last year. Our linen is actually provided not 5 miles from our office, and it comes into us, and we distribute it across the estate. But actually, a lot of hotels, all their linen comes down the M23 from London. I mean, that is just not sustainable.
Okay, so we've had a great discussion, guys, about the environmental issues. One thing that we need to try and dig down into is the actual footprint of the services that we give, whether we can provide for travel companies a measure of the carbon footprint that they incur when they book with us.
Yeah, I think, if we talk about, STR and vacation rentals, effectively they're a property, and obviously there is a ton of legislation wherever you go in the world now that's coming in for whether it's energy performance, how you build a home. the number of kind of your carbon footprint on building that home. So I think I would definitely be looking at trying to kind of support that, and how we could work with Trusted Stays to build up that would be really good. And I actually think it'll be a positive for short-term rentals and vacation rentals, because, as I say, that building is already there. A lot of the kind of the high intense carbon spend has been done in the past.
You know, one of the things I've discovered since working in the short-term industry is that it is about, I mean, any industry is about people, but this is very much an industry about local people, and local people trying to do things that are good for their environment. So those are all the positive stuff that you know, I can't wait to book my next stay with one of you guys, and certainly when I come down to Brighton next, I'll have to come and stay with you, Mark. Sorry, Matt. But well, on the more difficult side, some of the things that we found in the research for this webinar is difficulties of finding short-term rentals on current online booking platforms. You know, how widespread and how available and how easy are short-term rentals to book on the online booking platforms and on the GDS and stuff? Mark, do you want to talk about how you distribute? And then Matt.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have our own PMS system and our own website. We obviously partner with all the big platforms, you know, and we've got an API direct connection into Trusted Stays. So it should be extremely easy for people to find us. I mean, you only have to type in holiday homes in Google and up come thousands of them. So, you know, all the pricing is there, the availability is there in real time. You know, we also use a channel manager, so everybody across the world can see our availability and our rates. Push of a button. It really is simple, really simple.
What you said there, Mark, that was interesting. You said holiday homes. If I'm a business traveller, how do I find you?
You could just type in somewhere to stay in Sussex for myself, you know, somewhere to stay in London for Matt, and we will come up there with all of the hotels. You will see us. You know, I think we're ranked about 4th or 5th in Google after all the sponsored adverts. So we're quite highly ranked. Not hard to find, but using someone like Trusted Stays that have got the connections is even easier for people to try and find us.
Yeah, I think that's the big part there, isn't it? So I guess how I look at this is Trusted Stays is pushing our supply into that GDS, that kind of wider business environment. And I think it's all about getting the supply on there. So it's working with people like Veeve, you know, like with Mark, with My Getaways, to put the supply on the market. And I think actually, you know, you look at any of those big names behind Mark's head right now, you would be able to go and search London, and you would not just see hotels. With any doubt, you'll see, you know, short-term rental and vacation rentals on there as well. So I think it's all about just getting that supply into the market and putting that option out there. Ultimately, it's for potentially you, Dave, as a business traveller, to have those options and pick those in front of you. So I think that's the key bit here, is really to get your products and our properties onto Trusted Stays and out to the GDS and those demand channels.
And do we think, in your perception, do you think business travellers are aware of those options, or do they, if there's a business traveller, I outsource it to my travel manager, do you think the travel managers are aware of the choice that's out there?
I think they're becoming more aware. So I mean, on a day-to-day, I deal with probably, you know, quite a few different you know, agencies, travel managers, sometimes PAs, who are looking for accommodation, particularly anything over just a night or 2 nights, and they want something a little bit longer. You know, my boss is coming to stay for a week because they're there at multiple board meetings. That's where they're really starting to reach out and seeing the value of actually not just putting someone in a hotel, but actually in a home or a vacation rental that they can really kind of have a better experience.
Yeah. Mark, you're nodding away there.
I totally agree with Matt. I think, you know, the world is evolving. You know, people staying is evolving, and I think more and more travel managers or PAs are becoming aware of the services and properties we have to offer. And you know, I only see that growing. You know, over the short term, I see that growing quite substantially.
And I have to say, I mean, that's the whole premise behind Trusted Stays, that our belief is and our experience is that if you give the choice to people, they will choose it. But we have to, it has to be the right choice for the right price, has to be the right availability, and we have to make it as easy to book short-term rentals as book hotels. One of the other myths, or one of the other questions that was asked of us when researching the program, was about the issue about payments, and the question of payments being asked for up front. Is that something that's still prevalent in the industry, Matt, do you think?
Yes, I think there's still a little bit, but I think again, as the industry's professionalized over probably more so in the last 5 years than any other time, it's changed so much, partly due to COVID, but actually just different environments. I think, having players like Trusted Stays and actually, Katanox in this scenario, and you've got these kind of fintech solutions who are almost making that easy, whether it's taking payments, reconciling, all of those things that you might need, which have historically almost been an email out with an invoice on, and you've got to wait for 30 days, you've got to chase someone. Those days are definitely moving away. And I think actually from Veeve's standpoint, we are looking and we're open to more flexible payment opportunities with businesses, because we know it's something that we need to do to be competitive, because it adds to your point, Dave, that choice. If that is part of the decision making process you go through, then we look at that.
And Mark, how do your owners understand the need for that?
100%. Times are changing. COVID's had a massive shake up on the world and certainly our industry. Back before COVID, it was strict. You had to pay 30 days prior to check-in, and there was, you were never going to get your money back if you cancel. Those days are long, long gone. As a business, we offer two rates for people. You can have a non-refundable rate, which is discounted, or you can have a fully flexible rate, which you can change and cancel up to 5 days prior to checking in. And actually, quite a lot of our corporate clients, actually, we invoice them 30 days after checkout. So there are definitely payment options for people out there. They just need to talk to us and arrange it with us. And the same as Matt, we're happy to facilitate new ways of working.
Yeah, and I think I echo the point Matt's making, and you'll make that fintech offers some new ways of doing that help everybody make the whole thing smooth for all players in this. And I think it's really up to travel agents to ask for what they want. What do they need for their clients? And we'll do our best with the industry to support them in what they're trying to do. And I guess the final question, I'm sure there's lots more we can talk about. The final question I've got on my list of things is, how do short-term rentals integrate with existing loyalty programs for TMC customers? And Matt, you've got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's two parts to building up loyalty, and just to put one which is normally the points part, right, which is getting those points on whatever it is. Amex are normally the best one
Amex
for
card,
it's how it is. But I think actually loyalty effectively starts with actually the service part for me. I think making sure that we consistently deliver the service that our travel agents or whoever the demand is coming from. If we can do that consistently in line with what they see a hotel or similar doing, I think that's the start of the loyalty, because we want people coming back to short-term rentals and vacation rentals. And actually that loyalty then comes in from a buyer perspective, is we're able to offer the opportunity of all these different types of home as well, which obviously if you're a travel agent, your customer, your client comes back to you and says, actually really enjoyed staying there, I want to go back to one of these options, whether it's in London, in Brighton, in Paris. It builds almost a new type of loyalty. It's not just a transactional loyalty you have with a hotel, it's an experience-based loyalty as well.
Yeah. Mark, again, you're nodding away there.
I totally agree with Matt. It's hard for us to put in a points or a reward scheme like some of the others do. But we take Amex, and people can definitely build their points up on Amex. And it's an easy way to book. And I think Matt was exactly right. People will come and stay with us and then they will go back to whoever they booked with, and that is building loyalty for the travel agent rather than them going to another travel agent. They'll keep going back to them, and that's where they can earn their money as well.
I think that's right. I think, it's fine getting Amex points, and I love doing that and getting free flights if I spent millions of pounds. But it is about actually providing a good service, because people remember a good service a lot longer than they remember the points they've gathered for a cheap service. And that's the crucial for me. That is about providing service, providing the right accommodation, the right place, the right price, and doing things that are best for the customer. We've come to the end of our formal questions, the ones that I've got written down, but this is about myth busting, about getting people on all sides of the value chain to understand what's going on. So I guess the question now is for you guys: what would you like to ask travel agents? What questions should we put in the next episode of this series? Matt, anything that you'd like to pick up?
I guess actually a good one on the loyalty program is how, if there is a points-based loyalty program, how could their potential customers and clients use their loyalty points with someone like Veeve, or I'm sure Mark the same, My Getaways, as a alternative if they are, if their preference is to travel in hotels, but actually they've got these points and they want to take their family away instead. Actually building up strong relationships through there and understanding the opportunity across the accommodation sector as a whole. There are these different types of things that are available. So that would be an interesting one for me.
Mark, what would you like to ask?
I think I'd like to ask is what we can do to help them to bring people to us. What do the hotels do that we're not doing, or what can we improve so they know we're here and they have confidence in us as well. I mean, that'd be a really interesting thing to understand, is what more can we do to help them?
Okay, I think those are great questions. I think I also would like to ask TMCs how they find the range of accommodation that is available. But those for another episode. So I'll say thank you and goodbye at the end of today's episode. So Matt Johannesen from Veeve, Mark Byford from My Getaways, thank you so much for your thoughts, and look forward to seeing you down in Brighton soon, Mark. And seeing, well, I live in London anyway, Matt, and I see you quite frequently.
Go to Paris.
So, yeah, I'll go to Paris on my Amex points. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys. Great conversation, and cheers and goodbye. And look forward to seeing you all next time.